Hey everybody, welcome back. So if you've watched my channel at all, you know that I talk a lot about safe handling techniques and reading the snakes, things like that. And I don't know that I've went over one really brief, concise snake safety video. And that's what we're going to do today. So if you've kept snakes for a long time, you know, if you're just thinking about getting one, if you're thinking about getting a different species, it gets a little bit larger, I'm going to ask you guys to watch this all the way to the end. Everything that I say here is all stuff that we all need to be doing in regards to keeping our animals, keeping things safe, and in return, I'll try and keep it as brief and concise as possible. So today, we're talking large snake safety on Intrepid Exotics. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 14-foot reticulated python out. I'm going to do that right now. I've went over ways of going into the enclosure and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and link those videos down in the description that go into more detail on it. For the sake of getting everything out that we need to talk about though, we're going to go in, get her out, and then drive on. Just like always, you'll notice the enclosures are locked as they need to be. She ate last week. What's up, girl? You're just all kinds of spunky still, aren't you? What do you think, baby? You getting ready to shed? Come on. You may see her enclosure looks a little bit wet. I just filled her water bowl up this morning and apparently she got rambunctious and decided to spill it. So I've got a couple things not working in my favor right here. One of those things is she's getting ready to go into blue, which means she's getting ready to shed pretty soon. So she may or may not be as spunky as usual. But another thing is she just ate last week, and this is about time for her to empty her bowel. So hopefully she doesn't do that in the next 10-15 minutes or so. Like I said, if you want to look at details of trains of thought and approaches for going into the enclosure, I've got other videos on that that go into more detail. But a couple things I want to point out here really quick. And the first thing you're going to notice before she gets jumping around too much is the way I lifted her out. Okay, I've got her body around one shoulder. I don't have her draped all the way around my neck. There's a reason for that, and especially with reticulated pythons, anything arboreal, semi-arboreal, they're climbers. They will hang on to things. Okay, so you're going to see at some point, if she does her normal thing, at some point she is going to telescope out, try and explore something, and as her body extends out, she's got to hang on. Okay, and she's going to hang on with the body that's attached to me, and I can already feel her a little bit tightening up right here. Okay, and there's no malice in there. That's just her hanging on while she's stretching out and checking out the outside of her enclosure. Now that's perfectly fine up here around my shoulder. You know, she's wrapping around my leg some, a little bit of a grip on there. It's really no big deal. But if I had her tail and the rest of her body up around my neck, draped over both shoulders, you know, like you see on TV where everybody drapes a snake over their shoulders, you know, if I had her up there and she went off to explore something, where do you think she's going to hang on at? That's where she's going to hang on at. So when you're handling your snakes, and even your 5-6 footers, you know, they can get around your neck real easy. And, you know, if you've had one of your smaller snakes, you'll feel it when they get around there, you know. Look at you go. First of all, we always talk about having an extra person around when you're handling, okay? I've always got my camera shy person around, and you know, if you're an inexperienced keeper, then I would say anything between 6 and 8 feet up, have somebody else there. You know, not that a 6-foot snake is necessarily going to be able to injure you really bad, but if you're inexperienced and you don't know how to read the snake and you don't know how to manage a bite, then, you know, even a 6-foot snake can really kind of throw you for a loop. And, you know, more experienced keepers, you know, something that small is not going to be a big deal to manage. Okay, once you start getting up around, you know, 10-12 feet, something like that, it's a good idea to have it's a good idea to have somebody else around. Okay, absolutely a good idea. I mean, I've taken bites from smaller snakes before, and if I hadn't had anybody else there, you know, when you're taking a bite from a 10-foot snake, it can be kind of difficult to manage the proper way. And I've got another video on managing snake bites once they latch on and they get a hold of you. I'm going to link that down in the end too. So, you know, after you watch this, go in and check those other two out too, because it's all good information that you need to know. Now, I've been seeing a lot. Really, girl? Case in point. Retics will get out and start cruising. But, you know, we've covered a couple topics here recently that can be kind of subjective. They can be really heavy in opinion. And whatever your position is, and pay particular attention to how I'm managing her through this whole thing. You know, when her head starts coming up around my neck and I start making sure that she's going off a different direction, is all stuff that I'm doing subconsciously when I'm talking about it, but I really want you guys to pay attention to it, because this stuff is all important. Now, the basic fact of this whole thing is that keeping animals is a science, okay? And science works in objective facts. There's always going to be gray areas, but doctors of veterinary medicine study the science of veterinary medicine. Okay, it's a science. There's no spin to put on that. And that means that when we're talking about things with animals, although there's going to be some you know, some gray areas, some things that are going to be a little bit different, we need to always defer back to the science every single chance we get. Okay, there's one thing that just about every scientist I've ever talked to has made perfectly clear, and that's that there are no authorities in science. Okay, that means that there's never the situation where you say, you know what, this person says this, so this is true, it doesn't need any more research, doesn't need anything else to be said about it. This person said it, so it's true. You break that down into somebody that's been breeding for 20 or 30 years, if they tell you that there's no need to look into this, that they're saying this because it's true, immediately start looking somewhere else. Immediately start getting more information. And the reason why I say that, I can name off, just off the top of my head, some of the best, most experienced keepers I know. Okay, Kevin McCurley, Brian Barczyk, Jay, Adam Wickens is really knowledgeable. Clint's really knowledgeable with Clint's Reptiles. And I'm sure there's a bunch more. Keenan, Dave Kaufman, all of these guys, really popular. They've got really huge platforms, and they're really knowledgeable folks. And I guarantee you, any one of those guys, if there's a position that they're holding, and somebody comes up to them and says, I think this is the wrong position, this is my evidence why, and if that evidence is sufficient, that person's going to change their position and they're going to update their train of thought on that particular topic. They are not going to sit back and say, you know what, I've been doing this shit for 30 years, man. You can't tell me nothing I don't know. Because 30 years ago, they had positions that they no longer hold because they learned things, okay? Anybody else out there that's keeping animals, myself, anybody that's breeding, you know, we don't care what you've been doing for 20 or 30 years. You know, if you're giving advice to somebody, you need to understand that the people that you're giving advice to may not have 30 years of experience working with these animals. They may be brand new. They may not understand exactly what you're talking about. So we all need to be humble, and we all need to communicate things to the lowest common denominator. Okay, and that's by no means meant to be insulting, because it's not. You know, we all have areas that we know more, areas that we know less. So when we're talking about snake safety, simple things like this, like understanding how your snakes are going to move, what they need, how they react. And for newer keepers, if you're hesitant or you're afraid to manage your animals, then you really need to find a mentor. And you know, the reason for that is that you know, these animals require a confident handler, you know. And I don't know so much that it's because, you know, they sense fear and things like that. I don't think that's the case. I think what the case is that there's a certain way that these animals are going to act naturally. And we've got to understand what that is. If we're afraid of what they're doing and we misconstrue what they're doing, then we may not do the right thing. You know, even as much as she's cruising around right now, you know, I'm still not restraining her. I'm still making sure that I'm guiding her, maintaining control over her. Even if she starts moving fast, I don't get scared and go, oh, she's going to bite me, and then drop her. Because, no! There she goes, and there goes the camera. Alright guys, so there's the bonus tip for the week here. You know, if you're handling your snake right around a week or so after it's eaten, just be prepared for a wet leg and a mess to clean up on the floor. I almost think she enjoyed that. So, the whole point of this is, guys, is that I started this channel because when I first got into reptiles, I knew how difficult it was to find good information, to find people that could help me understand what I was doing. And I think the next video that I'm going to do, it was going to be on how to transition onto frozen thawed for your snakes that are reluctant. That one's still coming. I think the next video that I'm going to put out is going to be an interview with a new retic keeper. And this is somebody that I was in contact with. They asked me a question on my Facebook page. We talked back and forth in DMs. He called me, had a situation come up. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to let him explain it when I have him on. But it's a perfect example of a newer keeper with a genuine desire to do the right thing and just not really able to find out what that is, you know. And you know, as keepers, after we build some experience, things like that, when we talk to people, we really have to, you know, remember that, you know, we could tell somebody to do something, but they don't have that manual experience doing it. You know, it's really unnerving for me when, you know, I'm on a video chat with somebody and I'm watching, you know, reading the snake's behavior, kind of advising, okay, this would be a good time to do this would be a good time to do that. Because, you know, anything that they do can change up, you know, person can get bit. And it worries me, you know, because I care about people, you know. Every one of you people watching this, I care about you getting good information. I care about you having good experiences with your animals. And I care about the welfare of the animals that you've got. You know, and every one of us that's got a platform of any kind, you know, that should be our first priority. So the one thing that I'm going to put out here, because and you'll see in this next video that I put up, as soon as I get it filmed and put out, I'm going to link it at the end of this video. But if you're a newer keeper and you've got questions, if you've got behaviors that you're not sure of, or if your snake is getting bigger and you're starting to get uncomfortable, my Facebook link is in the top right corner of the homepage of my YouTube channel. Click on that link, send me a message, talk to me. We'll talk on the phone. I'll do a video chat with you. I'll do anything I can to help you get better at reading that animal's behavior, at, you know, maybe show you some things that you could do better handling them and things like that. Because I know how difficult it is finding a mentor to learn what the right thing to do is. It's so incredibly important once we start getting into larger animals like this. You know, you can't just go down, you know, say you've had ball pythons for a couple years or something like that, you know, maybe you got a little boa constrictor or something like that, and, you know, now you want to get into retics and berms. You know, you've got to put forth the effort to educate yourself. It's a must. And anybody else out there with a platform, you know, we all need to make ourselves available to help people through this. Because if we don't do that, if these breeders of larger animals don't put forth the effort to help educate people and they just give them the snakes because that person's giving them money and they're not preparing them for it, It's irresponsible. And quite frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself if you're selling this kind of animal and you're not putting forth the additional effort to, you know, to make sure that the folks are on point and they know what they're doing, you know. You know, it like I said, man, it may hurt a couple butts, but my concern for a new keeper having a good experience with his animals outweighs the concerns of somebody else's feelings who's already got their animals, their experience, their facility, anything else. Okay. And I think that should be the same for everybody across the board. So really the whole point of this video is that our main priority needs to be, just like when I was talking about the live feeding video. You know, we rank the 4 things: humane and ethical, the physical safety of the animal, the health of the animal, and then the convenience of us. And it needs to be the same thing when we're handling. You know, we need to make sure that we're being humane to our animals. We're keeping them and ourselves physically safe. We're preventing them from getting sick. And we're making sure that we don't get in over our heads with too many animals, or getting into an advanced animal when we're not ready for it and things like that. These all need to be considerations, guys. Now, the first responsibility of any keeper, if you're planning on getting a retic, a berm, an anaconda, anything larger, even boa constrictors, is you got to learn everything that you can. You know, in order to keep this video from being another 45-minute video, I'm linking, you know, one of the videos that I've got on the 5 steps that I use to safely handle my animals, to get them out of the enclosures and so forth. You've got the information that we talked about earlier here. I've got a lot of other videos on handling, you know, on reading their behavior and understanding them, because that's how things work well for us. It's how things work well for the animal, is we've got to understand them. And we've got to build that confidence within ourselves to be able to do the right thing with them. Now, when I put something like this out, guys, to going out worldwide, I want every reptile keeper or potential reptile keeper to see this. It's all information that we all need to either know, learn, or be reminded of. As keepers, as older experienced keepers, or people that's thinking about getting into it. So, by all means, guys, jump down, get subscribed to the channel. Like the video, get it out to more people, and I will see you next time when we talk with one of the new retic keepers and kind of let him explain what his experience was first getting into retics for the first time. And hopefully that sheds a little bit of light on maybe one of the reasons why I've made this video and a couple other ones in the past. So, hope you guys have an outstanding day. Be safe with your animals, and I'll see you next time on Intrepid Exotics.